السياسي والمجتمع المدني السوداني. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. مرحبا بكم في دار الامام، دار الامة، وكل سنة وانتم طيبين. وبالنسبة للسادة والسيدات من السلك الدبلوماسي، احنا شاكرين كثير جدا لكم لتلبية الدعوة، وعودتونا دائما في انكم تشاركونا في رمضان، نفحات رمضان. ربنا يعيد علينا وعلى السودان بالخير والبركة، ومساهماتكم معنا في حل قضية السودان بحل سياسي شامل ينعم به أهل السودان. ونرحب بمجهوداتكم معنا، وأقدم لكم الحبيب الامام رئيس الحزب بمخاطبتكم. تفضل سيدي.
اخواني واخواتي ابنائي وبناتي، السلام عليكم ورحمه الله، وابارك لكم هذا الشهر الكريم. كثير من الناس صاروا يقولون عباره رمضان كريم كعباره تحيه، ولكن تاريخ هذه العباره ان الضيف عندما يحل عند شخص ولا يستطيع ان يقدم له اي طعام أو شراب يقول رمضان كريم. فرمضان كريم التي كانت نوع من الاعتذار صارت نوع من التحية. على كل حال هناك أشياء كثيرة تغيرت في رمضان. هو شهر مفروض أن يكون للصيام، لدى كثير منا هو شهر للطعام، وللأسف بدل ما يكون نوع من الحمية فينزل بالوزن صار نوع من التسمين فيزيد من الوزن. وكذلك بدل ما الناس يعيشوا حياتهم العادية ويصومون، نجد للأسف كثير من الناس يقلبون الليل نهارا والنهار ليلا، فيصومون بالنهار وهم نائمون. وهذا في حقيقة الأمر يهزم فقه الصيام، لأنه الإنسان مفروض يصوم في ظروفه العادية حتى يواجه مشقة الصيام، والأجر الروحي بقدر المشقة. على كل حال أنا بالترحيب بحضراتكم حضرت كلمة باللغة الإنجليزية، وأقول اللغة الإنجليزية لأنها اللغة التي يفهمها أغلبية الحاضرين. ودائما فقها الإنسان مهما كان الواجب يراعي الواقع، فإن كان الواقع يتطلب أن نتحدث باللغة الإنجليزية لعموم النفع فهذا هو المطلوب. لذلك أرجو الجميع أن يتكرموا باستماع هذا البيان باللغة الإنجليزية. National Umma Party Statement to the Diplomatic Community in Sudan. Introduction. When Mr. Kofi Annan, as UN Secretary General, last visited the Sudan, I said to him that the UN is between nations, but now it functions as a union between governments. In the last decades, non-governmental activity in society has become even more important. United Nations reform should cater for the international representation of non-governmental society. In the National Ummah Party, we consider that although diplomats present their credentials to heads of state, they should extend their relations to non-governmental society. It is in this mandate that I welcome your honors and present to your consideration this statement on 5 points, briefly. First point. We believe that the present regime in Sudan has come to the end of its tether, and the present crises it faces can only be resolved by change, which would realize comprehensive and just peace and democratic transformation. This change must eschew violent means and abide by non-violent political action. Violent change would only result in the establishment of another dictatorship. For several reasons, the national dialogue, which started early this year, came to a false start. Therefore, we welcome all internal and international efforts to streamline the process so that the processes of national accord and peacemaking be conducted through legislation, which would specify the aims of the process under consideration, specify the shareholders, and indicate the roadmap towards the desired targets. We have already published proposals for that legislation. Second point, Sudan and its neighbors, especially Egypt, South Sudan, the rest of the Horn of Africa, and Libya, are facing problems which could only be resolved through a policy of mutual strategic cooperation. The National Ummah Party is active in the pursuit of that strategy. Third point, our Arabic, African, and Islamic regions, especially the MENA, Middle East, North Africa region, is facing crises of multi-fronted tensions based upon the administration of diversity. A lack of success in the administration of diversity has led and leading to the current identity wars. The present conflicts of national identity suffer from 7 basic fault lines. I have, in another context, defined what are the 7 fault lines. As president of the International Moderation Forum, my colleagues and myself are organizing a regional conference to diagnose the situation, review all the current attempts of Islamization, and offer an Islamic prescription which would resolve the conflicts between Islam and secularism, conflicts within Islam between Sunnah and Shia, conflicts within Sunnah Islam, conflicts between religious creeds, conflicts between cultural and ethnic communities, and social conflicts between the haves and have-nots. We believe that this approach would provide a prescription for an acceptable resolution of the conflicts which, if left to themselves, would tear the countries of the region apart. Fourth point, as a member of the Club of Madrid, this is a club which joined together more than 90 heads of state and government, previous heads of state and government, who have been elected democratically. They are members of this Club of Madrid. As a member of the Club of Madrid, I have suggested to the club the need for an international conference to discuss the various expressions of Islamic assertion, to evaluate the causes of the present surge of extremist and terrorist activity in the region, to consider the fact that since 2001, the phenomenon metamorphosed from a single center into multi-centers, into competing networks, and into would-be states. This is a metamorphosis of the terrorist activity. The causes are basically political, in spite of the fact that they employ religious terms. Both Al-Qaeda and Daesh have international involvement in their parenthood. This phenomenon now threatens to make several states in the region failed states and or create conditions for more iron-fisted dictatorship. Their activity will not stop at the region's borders. They constitute terrorism without borders. The international consequences are catastrophic. All such matters should be discussed and hopefully addressed by the expected international conference. Fifth point, no doubt the injustices meted to the Jewish peoples have persuaded many people to give moral justification for Israel. However, the policies of Israel towards its Palestinian victims are repeating what the Jewish people suffered to the Palestinians. Yes, self-defense is legitimate, but defense of illegitimate conquests is not warranted. The international community cannot and should not tolerate the present massacre in Gaza. If the international community fails in its responsibility to protect the scene in Gaza, among other similar atrocities, will provide the best justification for recruitment of supporters by the terrorist groups. The international community bears responsibility for the creation of the State of Israel and must bear equal responsibility for the protection of Palestinian rights. Failure to do so will provide wind for the sails of terrorism. Finally, I welcome you and thank you for your attention.